Welcome to Conversations with Cox and Kielseth, and to be more specific, that is filmmaker Alex Cox and myself, film curator Pablo Kielseth. Alex will join us by phone from his home in Oregon, while I sneak away from my office to call him from one of the projection booths used by the International Film Series, which has been screening foreign and independent movies at CU Boulder since 1941. We will keep our chats to about 20 minutes as we discuss whatever movie-related topics grab our fancy. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, action.
Putin putting his pants on, one leg at a time. See, he's a regular fella. No, he ain't nothing like a regular fella. Putin putting his hat on, hat size number 9. Some say Putin's getting big-headed. Nah, Putin's head's just fine. Oh, wow, the phone. Wait, who can that be? Hey!
Alejandro.
¿Cómo andas?
Bien. ¿Y tú? ¿Qué pasa?
Muy bien, pues aquí estoy en la selva con mucha nieve.
Oh, nice. Yeah, we got a little bit of snow too.
What kind of beer have you got there?
Oh, well, I've got a mash that is phenomenal. It's my favorite. One of my favorites, of course, the Snake River Brewing Zonker Stout, but I'm doing a 50-50 mash with a beer that someone brought over as a gift. It's a Dragon's Milk, a bourbon barrel-aged stout from New Holland Brewing Company. I think they're in Michigan. And it's an 11%er, so I thought it'd be good to just mix it up with something a little lighter, so that I don't go off the rails while we're talking.
Exactly right. Well, cheers. Yeah. I'm having a Pearl IPA myself, as is my world.
Ah, the old standby. So I guess today we're going to discuss something a bit unusual. In some ways, you could say that it's a feature-length documentary that has gone viral. 8 days ago, 4 million people had seen it. 7 days ago, that number went up to 31 million. And now, as of today, it's been seen on YouTube by over 100 million people. And we are talking about Putin's Palace, narrated by none other than Alexei Navalny, who is currently in a Russian prison, having already survived an attempted poisoning with the deadly nerve agent Novichok. But before we do that, Alex, I wanted to ask you how you felt about the extension of the New START agreement between the U.S. and Russia. It was set to expire next month, February 5th, but instead it's been extended by 5 years, which to me, I don't know, seems like a good thing, given that maybe that means we can avoid another dumb arms race. What do you think?
Well, I mean, they're already engaged in a dumb arms race, aren't they? I think that between them, Obama and Trump agreed to like a $1.7 trillion upgrade in our nuclear capabilities, our nuclear war fighting capabilities. So that upgrade is within the terms of New START. So we're lucky that New START didn't expire, because imagine what might have happened if it had. But the most exciting thing for me was what happened last week when the United Nations treaty outlawing nuclear weapons went into law. 50 countries have signed up for that and ratified it, right? And none of the nuclear powers have done so, but it still has the force of international law as far as the United Nations is concerned, like the treaties on landmines and cluster bombs, to which the United States hasn't signed up either. Nevertheless, I think they have a moral force, and it does influence the way people worldwide and the way other countries view our war-making activities.
Well, we certainly need, more moral forces in the world, so I applaud that as well. But back to Putin's Palace, or also known as Putin's Black Sea Empire, Alexei digs up a lot of dirt, as well as includes some exciting drone footage that shows viewers what 100 billion rubles, which I'm not good on the translation of rubles to dollars, but I think let's just call that a sum higher than $1 billion for sure. Well, what can that buy you? And in a nutshell, We see some private vineyards, an oyster farm, a very spiffed out palace bunker with a aqua disco, underground hockey rinks and theaters, church, underground tunnels attached to elevators linked to the seaside, custom Italian furniture, toiletries that cost more than one person's lifetime pension, etc., etc.
The largest residential building in Russia by far, 7 times bigger than the largest mansion anywhere else in Russia, according to the documentary.
Uh-huh. Yeah, now I don't know much about Navalny other than, he's a 44-year-old real estate lawyer who is good at suing for information to uncover hidden wealth. And he's certainly got balls of steel to go up against Putin. And, he's inspired protests in over 100 Russian cities so far, with more on the way. I have to say, one of the things I was surprised to learn was that Russia, unlike China, has mostly cheap, high-speed internet access to just about every populated part of Russia that is mostly free of censorship.
Yeah, and also very extremely inexpensive.
Right.
Immensely faster than anything we have in the US or Western Europe, and relatively cheap. So that's interesting. But it is, the documentary is interesting. I think, and the drone footage, the most damning part of the documentary is the drone footage of the mansion. And that is shot by somebody else. There's some guy, some journalist, a kind of a rather rotund guy with side whiskers, who inflates like an inflatable craft and illegally, sculls along the shore next to the mansion and then sends a drone up to take a photograph of it. To take video of it. And the video is quite incredible, of this ginormous mansion, and it's already falling down. It's already in decay. There's like plywood all over the windows because apparently it's got serious mold. But the video of it is extraordinary. And then this same guy, the rotund journalist, shows up in some suburb of some town somewhere, rattling the windows of a very disreputable looking building down an alley where the office of the holding company which owns the palace is located. And he's like rattling the metal window, and there's obviously nobody there, and there's nothing inside except for a table with an answer phone on it, and so that stuff is pretty outrageous. It's unbelievably ostentatious and mad, the building. It's like Versailles. It's quite striking. And for me, it was deeply, deeply upsetting because I had subscribed to the Randy Newman view of Putin, that Putin was a humble bureaucrat who really only wanted to, let the Russians sit in the comfy chair and was doing his best for that. And he didn't care about money. He only cared about the exercise of absolute power,
Now that was, I saw that video. You sent me a link. That was from 2016, I think. Was that, is that correct?
That's Randy Newman's song Putin. Yeah. And that's a good song because that was our impression, that it was all about getting Russia into the comfy chair. But what the documentary suggests is that it's Vladimir who's going to sit in the comfy chair, and that's a kind of a madness, I think, that comes of working in very ostentatious buildings. Because if you see Oliver Stone's interviews with Vladimir Putin in the Kremlin, it's just like that. It's like, gigantic, windows 2 stories high and enormous gold doors and chandeliers and all this stuff. And if public servants shouldn't inhabit really grandiose buildings like the Houses of Parliament or the Kremlin or certain buildings in the United States, perhaps, because they just get an inflated idea and their aesthetics get so screwed up. That's the most dreadful thing about the thing, is that how vulgar the palace is. I don't know if it's really true. I know they do a rather impressive kind of visualization of what it would be like to be in Vladimir Putin's private casino and stuff. But I think at that point they've moved into the realm of assertion with the pole dancing snooker lounge and things, but it is the vulgarity of it. What we can see from the furniture and the photographs taken by the workers in this mold-ridden mansion, it's like Versailles. It's so vulgar. And
I have to say, I would love to see a James Bond movie set almost entirely in that building, just from the interior 3D footage that they cobble together. It would be amazing to see some serious shootouts take place with car chases throughout the halls of those just crazy large rooms and very ostentatious. Some of it inspired potentially even by Eisenstein, if I recall correctly.
That would be the peasants storming the mansion, and it does seem to have incredible protection. It seems to have its own military base, and there's a no-fly zone over it. And I really admire that the journalist who went out there and actually invaded the no-fly zone and in his own little inflatable craft, and then went rattling the windows of the holding company. That guy was doing some serious journalism, and that's the best part of it.
I'm surprised that drone didn't just get shot out of the sky immediately upon moment of its appearance.
Isn't that interesting about drones? Because the same thing happened at Heathrow Airport. You remember, not Heathrow, sorry, Gatwick Airport in London. That the airport was shut down for about 2 days. A year and a half ago, because some individual was flying a drone nearby. And that seemed really weird, because you'd think they'd have technology just to knock them down,
Apparently a lot of those drones can be extremely quiet, and indeed, you don't know that they're even up there sometimes. So I guess that does give it some credence.
And it serves a real, it serves a real journalistic purpose. The drone is our friend when it shows us things that otherwise the authorities or oligarchical people wouldn't want us to see. And it's interesting that the land for the palace was purchased for, some kind of children's recreation camp, so I think that's the purpose to which maybe they should put it. They can have, enormous kids' parties and raves there and
Indeed. I think that's the thing. That's the reason you and I aren't to oligarchs, is because our brains aren't wired in such a way to think, hey, if we start a development of agrarian initiatives as a nonprofit and use that as a shell company where we can just divert all this money that doesn't have to be reported on taxes, then boom, we can start to load up and create these massive buildings. It's insane, though. I mean, we kind of keep drifting to this point, but oligarchs and money mad people. I was telling my dad the other day, it's just like, man, I got a living room and I got a couch. Why would I even think that I need 1,000 living rooms and 1,000 fancy couches made out of some custom Italian, furniture? There's one of me, I don't.
You need a couple more living rooms, though, to accommodate all the videos and films and posters and art and, there's a lot of stuff.
No. The only thing that I will say is that I want you to know, Alex, I have slowed down my acquisition of vinyl records, partly for that reason. And I've also, I got to be careful with books, because that's the other thing that I do like to have room for, are books. But all right, so vinyl and books. But you know what? I got enough space for those two things. I don't need to have $1 billion palace for my vinyl or for my books, I don't think.
I know, because and the worst thing about it, apart from the vulgarity, is that you have to have a staff. They're constantly around people who are there to attend you and make sure it stays clean and that the peasants don't get in, servants and bodyguards who love you, and that's so exhausting.
And it's those staff who are taking selfies of themselves on your furniture and then posting it online.
Peeing in your soup. It's something terrible, really, to have that the mindset that gets engendered in and this is obviously a rather damning indictment of the president of Russia, but it could be, we could indict many naughty presidents and naughty politicians for their unjust enrichment of themselves and their bad taste.
I would like to see the same kind of documentary applied to Jeff Bezos' palace, because while Putin's palace might be, I'd say it's $1 billion, $2 billion, it almost doesn't matter. Bezos got, he's basically worth 82, he's getting close to 200 billion. Imagine what his elevated palace looks like. I'm curious if any drones would make it past his security.
That's interesting to find out. Well, maybe people will try, because I think oligarchs the world over should have their residences, opened up to us, and we should see the kind of existence that they lead as they move from room to room. It looks like in these mansions, though, it takes a long time to get from like the dining room to the bedroom.
It reminds me of a little bit. I mean, in a very minuscule way, but when the CU Rec Center went on this huge build out project, and it used to be
with the buff shaped pool,
with the buffalo shaped pool and the huge climbing walls that were 4 stories high. But I mean, it used to be that I could actually go into the CU Rec Center and go to the locker room and do 45-minute workout, and then go back and change out, go back to the office. And when they expanded, I had to go like 3 floors down to a locker room that was like 4 times bigger. And that whole process ate into the workout time, because, you only have a lunch break in which to work out. And it became a useless building for me. I couldn't do what I needed to do because it was too large.
I used to feel that when I would go to the Y to go swimming and stuff, once you got in the water and went up and down, it was fine. But the 10 minutes you had to spend on either side to get to do it, it's tedious, to have to go through all that process. And walking is, they say, is the best exercise, or riding a bicycle in some people's case.
Well, I'm all about riding bikes. Hey, but before I forget, I wanted to mention that I saw that Walter Bernstein, who was blacklisted in the 50s, he died last Saturday. And among his many credits are he did the script for Failsafe, which is relevant to our discussion, directed by Sidney Lumet.
Isn't it?
He also did the Molly Maguires, which I've not seen. That was 1970, and The Front. And both of those were directed by fellow blacklisted colleague Martin Ritt. But he also directed, according to the obit, 2 Westerns, and I haven't seen either of them. And because you love Westerns, I just wanted to ask if you'd seen them. The Wonderful Country from 1959, and I hope I'm getting the title right here, Heller in Pink Tights from 1960.
I have seen The Wonderful Country, but I can't say I remember anything about it.
Yeah.
It was kind of contemporaneous with The Big Country, I think, and I remember The Big Country, but The Wonderful Country, I cannot remember. And the other film, Heller in Pink Tights, is a great title, isn't it? But I don't think I've seen it. Or if I did, I saw it on telly when I was a kid.
Title, yeah. Again, if I'm getting that right. Speaking of headlines, today I was reading about how cancer has emerged as the leading cause of death for firefighters across the country. It's like, 75% of active duty firefighter deaths in 2019 were apparently due to foams and the protective clothing that is drenched in PFAs, but it's lined not just in the outer shells, but also on the interior lining as well. So I know that you're a volunteer firefighter there in your neck of the woods, so I hope you're not sleeping in your firefighter gear, Alex. It sounds like you should be putting that stuff away from the house and far away.
Well, I can think of 3 things that would cause firefighter cancer. One is smoke inhalation.
Sure.
Because you are around burning things, and especially if it's a wildland fire, is a certain type of smoke. But if you get into that, it's gray smoke. But if you get into the black smoke of a burning building or a burning vehicle, there's plastic burning, all kinds of stuff in there, and you don't. So there's that. There's what you just mentioned. The
cancers that they're talking about, Alex, they mention liver damage, decreased fertility, asthma, and thyroid disease, and regular cancer.
Because the asthma would tie into smoke inhalation as well, presumably.
Sure. Yeah, that one would make sense.
And the chemical exposures are... Yeah, that's really real. The other thing is just inhaling diesel fumes all the time. because when you fight a fire, you're standing right next to the fire truck, and it's just like pumping out diesel smoke the whole time, because that's how the generators pump the water. So when firefighting is an incredibly carbon pollutant activity. It's like mining for lithium, I mean, it's like really, really dirty.
Yeah.
And so there's that too. But you're right about definitely the chemicals and the fire retardants in the gear that firefighters get given. I had the skin peel off the palms of my hands on one occasion because I'd worn a pair of gloves I found laying around, and they were certainly coated in fire retardant, but they also,
oh my God!
But also, I mean, they had my hands were dyed green, and I didn't mind that because I could eventually it washed off, but then the skin peeled off my hands.
Oh,
so
it's horrible.
It's a mess. Some of the stuff, some of the chemicals to which firefighters are exposed.
Yeah, that's really disconcerting on so many levels. Oh, by the way, I should tell you that tomorrow's the start of Sundance, and normally I'd be in Park City, and we'd blow off the broadcasting. But I'm actually they're allowing people to watch things from home on their computers or laptops or whatever. So I'm actually attending Sundance virtually, and I'll be watching like 5 movies a day. Through Tuesday, I think is when it goes through. So I will
give us a report. Next week.
When next we speak on a week from today, that'll probably be what I'll be talking about. But I certainly encourage you to find anything that you would like to toss into the hopper to bring to the, that'd be great to mix it up a little bit. So,
good.
Well, all right, sir. It's
all right then.
Yeah. Good to hear from you as always.
Likewise. Thank you very much.
And we'll talk again soon.
And cut. Okay. That's a wrap.
Thanks again for joining Alex Cox and myself today. I'd like to thank Jason Phelps for handling the audio and Ted Thacker for letting us use the intro to his song, The Ballad of Slim Cessna, for the musical cues that bookend these conversations.